Well, hello and welcome to the Weekly Wellness Show. Bienvenidos for my Spanish-speaking friends. You are listening to the Weekly Wellness Show, your resource for better health. I am your host, pharmacist, physician, entrepreneur, Dr. Aaron Williams. Now, today we have another exciting show for you along with interesting topics and, as always, dynamic guests. In our first segment, we're going to have Winifred Bate-Pope. She, as you know, is a pharmacist, but she also is CEO and product developer as well as a healthcare consultant. So she's going to be on the show talking to us about breast cancer, but also talking to us about weight loss. This week, the CDC came out with something that's not necessarily new, but confirmed the fact that there is a link between being overweight and obese to cancer. In fact, they identified 13 different types of cancer that this can be related to. One of them is breast cancer. So we're going to talk about that. And then we're going to also talk to Dr. Rodney Nash. He is co-founder, CEO of a biotech company called Gvan Biosciences. And we're going to talk about what he's doing at his company to help fight breast cancer. So I think we got a great show today. So before we entertain our guests, we'll go ahead and take our first commercial break. So, ladies and gentlemen, please stay tuned and be informed. Welcome back. It is splendid to have you today carving out some time to listen to some information regarding your health, which is your wealth. You are listening to the Weekly Wellness Show, your resource for better health on the Survival Radio Network. I am your host and honored to be your host, Dr. Aaron Williams. Our first guest today is Winifred Bate-Pope. Now, she talked to us several months back, so she's not a stranger to the show. As you recall, she is a graduate of Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University. By the way, was just mentioned in the U.S. News and World Reports magazine as one of the top schools in the country. She is a graduate of the College of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences. She's a registered pharmacist as well as CEO, product developer, wellness consultant, and health professional consultant. Long story short, she's a pharmacist and an entrepreneur, and she has a passion for helping people to achieve their goals and to stay healthy. So today, in light of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, she's going to talk to us about the connection between obesity and breast cancer, but also how can we reduce our risk. So without further ado, let's welcome to the show Winifred Bate-Pope.
Why, thank you, Dr. Williams.
Well, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Well, we're so glad to have you, and we're so glad that you are presenting to us in a very timely fashion. As I mentioned earlier, October, as everyone knows, everybody's wearing pink. The football players are wearing pink, and we all know that this is the month of breast cancer awareness. But it's also even more timely because, and this is not, like I said earlier, this is not anything new, but the CDC continues to confirm that there is a link between being overweight or being involved in the obesity category with cancers. I mean, they actually identified 13 types of cancers. And so that means like 630,000 people in the U.S. today that are diagnosed with cancer really have a cancer that's associated with being overweight and obesity. So I think the fact that you not only have a solution for this or a solution to help us decrease the risk, I think it's a beautiful thing. So what's been going on with you and your practice? And I understand you even have some some new products. But I guess the first thing, what is that connection between obesity and cancer, and specifically breast cancer?
Well, as you know, it's a strong connection. And with this being Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I don't think there's anyone that has not been touched personally by breast cancer, someone in your family or as a health professional. I'm sure all of us have had patients. But the fact that we are, as a nation, not taking care of our wealth, which is our health, we're not dealing with the proper nutrition. Considering that there's a 1 in 8 chance that a woman will develop cancer in her lifetime was staggering to me. I am a woman. And just studying and realizing that there are risk factors that we cannot control. There are things that's going to happen regardless. One factor is genetics. We can't help the family we're born, a family history. That's something we cannot control. We cannot control being a female because women actually have breast cancer far more often than men. Men do have breast cancer, but it is rare. And another factor we can't control is our age. As we get older, especially as women over 60, we're more likely to be diagnosed with breast cancer. So that was something that I took to heart and decided that I was going to share with my patients the way that we can control factors. There are things that we can control, things that will cut down and reduce our chances. One is alcohol intake. Most of us don't realize when we're consuming alcohol that we know about the other health risks, but we don't even realize that it's dealing with cancer. There's also a lack of physical activity. You've had many guests to talk about being physically active, but now there's another connection.
Right.
The average woman can lose about 23% of her muscle mass between the ages of 30 and 70. So that's major. Yes, we need to exercise and have some resistant workout that will increase our muscle mass and our strength. Thirdly is smoking. With all the information out there about the dangers of smoking, we still are lighting up.
Right. Yeah. And well, this is what I was thinking. I didn't mean to cut you off, but we're so in tune. The CDC recognized the fact that 50% of the U.S. population is not even aware of this connection. Everybody I don't want to say everybody, but a lot of us kind of know about the connection between an unhealthy diet and heart disease. But I think the awareness needs to be continued with us as far as knowing about connection between our diet and exercise and cancers. And you're right. Some of the studies show that when they looked at the increase with the CDC, they looked at it from 2005 to 2014. That was that increase as people got older. So I think you're hitting the nail on the head with this, and we need to try to look at this and try to do something about it.
That's true. The average American is 23 pounds heavier than their ideal body weight, and we've just started to accept that as the new norm. It's just normal. That is not normal. And my role as a pharmacist is to educate my patients and clients with proper weight management skills. There are hundreds of diet and weight loss programs out there. People are using them, yet they are still gaining weight. So obviously, most plans don't work.
Right. Well, as you know, first of all, October is also American Pharmacist Month. So, hey, happy American Pharmacist Month to you.
Thank you.
The other thing is that a lot of times the data has shown that pharmacists or patients come in contact more with their pharmacists to a certain extent than their physicians. So the pharmacist has an excellent opportunity to help pass this information along and educate the public. So I think you're doing a great work with this, with regard to tackling this heavy issue.
Well, thank you. That is my passion, and you're so correct. I see most of my patients, I would say probably 50% of them once a month. Another 40% I see every 90 days, as opposed to just once a year for the physician. And just dealing with my own health challenges, I decided that would be my way of giving back to the community, is to educate and help patients and even people in my neighborhood that I work in. I want to make sure that they understand that there is a consequence to what you're doing to your body. There is sacrifice. You pay now or pay later, but we have got to, in this country, pay attention to what we're eating and stop eating out of a window, because that's a real problem. Nothing wrong with an occasional something out of the window, but that should not be our everyday thing, that every day we're going to go and pick up something from a window for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. That's not acceptable.
Right.
So we have a real problem.
Right, we do, and I think it's an American cultural thing. I was listening to a retired cardiothoracic surgeon here in the U.S., but he has done some work, overseas, whether it's like a charity or that kind of thing. And so he said when he went overseas to do this type of work in other countries, he found that the types of heart disease that he was doing surgery on was different than what he did in the U.S. He stated that a lot of the heart disease that he had to fix in foreign countries had to do with like genetic valve malformations and that kind of thing. It wasn't the bypasses and that kind of thing that we deal with here in the United States. So he was pretty much trying to say that it's our lifestyle, and other people in other countries, they have other issues, but they don't necessarily have to deal with the cardiovascular disease like we do, which is related to our diet, and we can also relate this to cancer. So we've got to change how we think, we've got to change how we eat, we've got to change how we exercise. But I guess we'll start with, changing how we think.
Absolutely, changing how we think. We've got to go back to the basics. We've got to understand that not only are we doing things that are not good for us, we're passing that on to our children, causing problems for them down the road. We have to instill in them proper nutrients. We cannot, at the pace that we're going, we're treading on dangerous waters, and we've started to accept being overweight as being normal. Curvy is in. Yes, curvy is in, but
right.
You have to remember, healthy will always be in.
Right.
It will always be in. So it's about education. I do like to talk with my patients. I have countless people, as I'm sure you do as well, that approach me about different programs, or try this magic pill, or try this, drink this, shake this, do this.
Mm-hmm.
But we really have to educate ourselves and just kind of look for programs that are science-based. That's one of the reasons I believe in the transition lifestyle system, because, number one, it is science-based, and it's unique to everyone's lifestyle. We all are different. You can't package everything into one package and give it to every single person. We have different genes. We have different activity levels. So that's one of the reasons I believe in this program. It's not a diet. It's a lifestyle, and it teaches behavior modification, which is education is key.
Right. Well, let's see how this works. Let's say you have a young lady that comes in, and let's just say that, for whatever reason, just how things are done in the house or how meals are cooked in the house, she knows she's overweight. She knows that, let's say her BMI is between that 25 and 29 range, or even up to that 39 range. For the audience, BMI is the normal is between 18.5 and 24.9. So anything over that will be classified as overweight or obese or severely obese. But let's say one of your patients has recognized that she falls into one of those categories. And the fact that, and let's mix it up a little bit, let's just say her mother or grandmother had a history of breast cancer. And let's just say she wants to do whatever she can to do that. How would you in this program, what would you start with regard to helping and counseling her on this type of background and scenario?
Actually, the first thing I would do would be to point her to my TLS website and allow her to complete an assessment based on what she's eating, her activity level, her health issues, and allow science to take place and dictate the best options for her. How fast do you want to lose weight? What are your goals? Are you wanting to drop weight fast, or you want to go slow and steady? And allow the system to work for me, and we can do a customized plan. And it's all about customization because we all are different. So the first thing I would do would be to send her to my nrxdiets.com, and we would complete an assessment and let the system, it will tell us exactly what she wants to do and the rate she wants to lose weight, her goals. So that would be my first step.
Yeah, I mean, so on that now, there are several components of it. Tell us about the low glycemic, the importance of low glycemic impact eating.
Well,
how does that work?
Well, the glycemic index in relative to carbohydrates in food, it's according to how it affects our blood glucose level. When blood sugar is high, it's nearly impossible for your body to burn fat. So what we recommend is you have carbohydrates. Most people will say, oh, just limit carbs. No, that's not good. We need carbs for energy. So we will find carbs with a low glycemic index value. They are more slowly digested. They're absorbed and metabolized and cause a slower rise in the blood sugar, thereby affecting the insulin levels. The average American will eat maybe a bagel or something like that in the morning, a cup of coffee. Well, that will cause our insulin levels to spike. And we go all day long with up and down, never a steady state of our blood glucose. So that's one thing we're doing. On the other spectrum, they would say, oh, just eat less. Well, we need food for energy. We just need to change the kinds of foods that we're eating, which is really, really important. There's nothing wrong. I heard you talk last week about a good old steak every now and then. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that on an occasion. But we also need, you need some fresh vegetables. You need some things to kind of balance the diet. I do believe, and I do talk to my clients and patients about eating out of the inner circle of the plate. We should not. We have gone to supersizing everything, and our serving sizes are far too large. So I want to make sure I train her on what's the correct portion size for protein, the right amount of vegetables, the right amount of fruits. And, of course, yes, we do need some carbs, but we need the right kinds of carbs. So I think this food should be delicious and nutritious, but it also should be quality, wholesome food. I don't really believe in the packaged foods because, you know, that does work temporarily, but what happens when you start to eat regular food? That starts the yo-yo process. You lose the weight, you're doing what you're supposed to do. Once you get off of that, your weight is back up, sometimes even more, which is really, really unhealthy. So to me, that is key.
Well, it's like you said with these high, and you touched on something, and we kind of talked about that last week. I think Dr. Stacy had talked about this insulin-like growth factor, and I guess for the audience, this ties back to one of the scientific proofs that obesity is related to cancer. Obese people often have an increased blood level of insulin, as well as insulin-like growth factor. And what they found in some of the studies, and this was reported in the CDC report, that high levels of insulin, high levels of IGF may promote the development of certain types of cancers. And I don't want folks to misunderstand what I'm saying. It's not that you take, if you're a diabetic and you're taking insulin, that where you have the problem. We produce, even normal people produce insulin every day. That's how we metabolize our food. But if you're overweight, you're going to have higher levels of insulin. Your body, your pancreas has to produce higher levels of insulin. But what they found that these high levels promote the growth of certain types of cancer. So hence, this is another mechanism and another reason why that this person, this typical person that we're talking about, needs to consider, losing some weight and some modification. Now, what about her behavior? I heard you mention behavior modification is important, and it's found in the TLS weight loss solution system. How does that work, and what are some of those things that you would counsel someone on regarding this?
Well, a number of ways. For one, you can't eat whatever you want and not be active. We have people thinking that you can just eat this and lose weight. No, a healthy body needs to be active. And we aim to change the muscle-to-fat ratio, meaning, people don't realize muscle dictates metabolism. So we want to start, I don't care if you start sitting, we need to start doing something. And we need to educate them on what we're eating. Another component is journaling. People just mindlessly eat things all day long and not really keep a record of what am I eating, why am I eating this. We need to just get back to the real reason that you're overeating. Sometimes it's, another component is proper supplementation, because our foods simply aren't as nutritious as they were years ago. There are a number of studies that showing that fruits and vegetables, say 40 years ago, had more nutrients. So maybe we're eating to fill that void, but if you don't understand why you're overeating or write down what you're eating, you just continue the cycle. Sometimes it's depression. I have dealt with a number of patients that were depressed and overeating, and that just adds to the depression. It's a vicious cycle. We have to find ways to correct that cycle. And sometimes just being aware of what you're doing is part of the equation. So that's another component. And if you're writing down what you're eating, and if you're drinking, not paying attention to hydration, that's important too. So the body is looking for some key nutrients, and if we're not supplying it, you're just going to continue to choose foods to supply that need, but there's still going to be a void. Many times, have you ever eaten something and thought you were full, 30 minutes later you're hungry? Right. That happens often. It does happen. So perhaps a key thing missing there is, I know a lot of people don't believe in supplementation, but I do. If your body is not getting what it needs, then there's no way that you can repair and restore those cells. You've got to, if your body's not making something, you've got to supply it. You don't have to take everything under the sun, but I always recommend any of my clients to let's just start with the basics. Let's start with a basic multivitamin, quality, one that's absorbed. We can take something, but if your body is not breaking it down and you're not absorbing it, what's the point? so it has to be a quality supplement. There are a million things out there, but you need something that your body can break down and actually absorb. And
and so now the TLS system, does the TLS system involve any specific products that you would be recommending to a person that falls into this category?
Absolutely. And when they do an assessment, the assessment, I let the science do the work. It will tell me what supplement will benefit them. Let's say a person is dealing with a lot of excess weight in the middle section, which like most Americans are. I would recommend that we give them our product, the CLA. It deals with target stubborn belly fat, and it also enhances lean body mass. So basically it's completing the assessment and finding out where their deficiencies are, where their weaknesses are, what activity levels they need to be at. And I use the system. It's an amazing system to help someone guide them through the maze. It's a weight loss maze. It's all kind of turns. But just to be able to find a point that people can start. I mean, sit down here and start and find out what should I do. And you just complete this and allow the system to tell you what would work best.
And what are some of those questions that system will ask them? I'm assuming weight, but are there any other questions that system would ask involved in the assessment?
It would find out about what they're actually eating now. What are you currently eating now? What is your activity level? It also will teach them how to do a body measurement. A lot of people don't understand how to take their body measurements. There are examples to show them exactly what to do, and you can input that to, if you want to do your body fat calculation, you can actually use these are free tools. I will mention the site again at the end, but it's a lot of free information that you just go and just find out where you are. Find out. It will ask about what medications you're taking.
Okay. So they need to come prepared to talk about their weight, talk about what they're eating, talk about what medications are involved. Is there a family? They query the person about family history?
We can go as far in depth as they would like to go. We can actually do a DNA analysis. But yes, there are questions.
Okay.
But let's say it's a person that's not looking to lose weight but just want to find some basic supplement information. I will mention another site. That's just my basic site, and you can do a physical assessment and just talk about that. Maybe you don't need to lose weight, but want to know where you are as far as what you should be doing for supplementation. That's my nrxwellness.com site. That just really talks about basic health and supplementation. But for those that want to lose weight, the nrxdiets.com helps with that. It has the body fat calculator, talks about body composition. There are free recipe downloads. There are educational videos. It just provides just a wealth of knowledge right there for free at your fingertips, just to help people. We've got to get a hold on our fat. We're out of control. We are. I see patients that go from 1 or 2 medications to 6 or 7 medications, and the more you're adding medications, I'm finding that they're not reducing. If you say go to your physician and he says, oh, well, your blood pressure is a little high, and he puts you on a medication, and you don't do anything else, it's more than just taking a pill. What are you doing between your visits to reclaim your health? Well, if you're a person that decides, okay, I need to be more active, or I need to pay attention to my salt intake, or I need to pay attention to my diet, so that the next time you return to the doctor, he won't add another medication. Let's say he can reduce the dose if you've taken care of yourself between visits. But it's unfortunate in our society we feel like let's just pop a pill and it's done. You know that's not true,
Right.
Dr. William.
Exactly.
That's not true. You have to. You
Right.
have to take care of yourself between your doctor visits. It's up to the patient to go home and identify what they're doing wrong and address it. Otherwise, when you return to the doctor in 6 months or in a year, you're going to have something else added. Your medication will increase. So obviously, we're not taking that seriously.
Right. Well, you said something just a few minutes ago about we have to take care of the fat, and and this is for the audience. The science behind this is the fact that fat tissue produces excess amounts of estrogen,
Absolutely.
high levels of which have been associated with breast cancer, not only breast cancer, endometrial cancer, ovarian, and other types. So that fat tissue is actually manufacturing excess amounts of estrogen. So, so that leads one to propose that if you reduce your fat, you reduce those excess levels of estrogen. And this is just one of the mechanisms. There are several of them, but this is the one that really helps link obesity to cancer. Another one that they mentioned was the fact that obese people often have chronic low levels of inflammation. And so inflammation can, over time, cause the DNA damage that leads to cancer. Pretty much cancer, and this is what I tell my patients, cancer pretty much is a normal cell that has lost the control mechanisms. So a cell, instead of having the normal, what we call programmed cell death that naturally occurs and allows us to regenerate new tissue, these cells continue to grow. So
Absolutely.
What they're saying with the CDC is that this inflammatory environment fosters this type of DNA damage that causes cancer. So there's a lot of science behind this, and I think people need to take heed to this. But yeah, back to the TLS system. I guess body composition is another issue. I guess everybody's different. What may work for me may not work for you. And I'm assuming that this is probably one of the reasons that you have the TLS weight loss system has this customized component regarding its initial analysis.
Absolutely. And, everybody might not want to start out. I have some patients that maybe need to lose 50 pounds, but all they want to focus on is the first 5 pounds. I'm okay with that. Let's start with that. So let's customize a system. Let's say we can rapidly get those 5 pounds off and go for the next effort, which might be another 5 pounds. So everything is customized based on how fast you want to lose weight. Some people want to, let's say you have something coming up and you want to drop 20 pounds. Well, let's be realistic. You can't do that in 10 days. That's impossible. But just to come up with a customized plan based on what your short-term, long-term goals are. Believe it or not, with weight loss, we have to have goals. Like anything else. If you don't know where you're going, there's no telling where you'll end up. So really, it absolutely, you just set out to sail and you go anywhere else, anywhere you want to go. But I like to guide patients through what they need to do. Also with TLS, if you want a personal coach, you start the program and you.
Right. That's going to be our next question. Is there personalized coaching, not just initially, but further into the program?
Absolutely. I am a coach. They go to my site and they want to do the program. If they want, you can do a 7-day detox. I can walk you through that. One of the things I do most often with people is we have a 21-day challenge. that is one of the better programs. But if you want to take a step further and want to do a 6-week or a 12-week program, as long as you are doing what you're supposed to do and you want to be held accountable, I will coach you through that, or any of the PLS coaches. So it's something that people do need guidance on, but there are just a lot of free tools out there that they can use. But if you want to get serious, and this day and age, and with that information from the CDC, I think it's a good thing that you're offering this information. People really need to pay attention. If not for yourself, think about children. And everyone knows a woman has a special woman in their life. I don't care if it's your significant other, your sister, your mom, your spouse. There's things that we need to make sure we're passing on and letting people know about. A lot of people weren't aware of that link with the obesity factor, because that's something that we can control.
Right, exactly. Well, we got a couple minutes left. What are some of the websites, and how can they reach you regarding this?
If they want to find out about weight loss, it's in like nature, rxwellness.com. That is my nutrophysical site. They can find out information. They can do whatever they want. But for the diet, it's nrxdiets.com. And all of the sites are on my Winpope, WINNPOPE.com site. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions. And I mentioned earlier, we have a new product, the Trim Tea, that just recently it came out. The product sold out in 2 days. We'll have some more available. Yes, it sold out in 2 days. I was fortunate enough to get some. I was expecting that to be big, so I ordered up. But the thing about the tea, it has a key ingredient, Well-Trim, which has been studied, that it helps to reduce your blood glucose level. There was a study with 52 participants, so I can't talk this morning, with an average weight loss of 28 pounds. I can tell you I was really impressed with the documentation on the tea, and I've tried it for several days, and I'm really excited about it. Anytime that we have a product that will, it's only 2 ingredients. It's not a whole list of tons of things that you can't pronounce, but it helps with total cholesterol reduction, LDL cholesterol reduction, reduction in C-reactive proteins and the blood glucose, as well as the reduction in fat production. So I am excited about that. I can't wait for that to be back in stock.
That is excellent. I mean, the fact that it's sold out pretty well, that means a lot of people are getting some benefit from it, and I think this will be great. Well, you know, I'm so glad you're able to come on the show. I think it was timely. You had developed this topic before the CDC had published its data, so, you know, who knows, maybe you're ahead of the government on this.
I'm trying to be.
Yeah, but it's great having you on the show again, and I really like everybody to start at minimum to check out your website, and give us your main website again.
Winpope, WINNPOPE.com.
Okay.
All the links are on that site.
That is great. That is great. Well, thanks again for coming on the show. You know we're going to have you back at some point in time to talk about another great topic, but I'm glad you're able to put us on your schedule today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
All righty. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we'll go to our second commercial break. So please stay tuned and be informed.